Hey y'all, I believe we're live on the internet. It is February, I believe, the 5th, 2020. Y'all, I look forward to today's episode, I suppose. I look forward to all of them, but this one's going to probably prove to be wild. We're going to go kind of willy nilly, but I did run through some things before the broadcast, so rest assured we're going to have more than we can talk about to talk about tonight, all right? But as people settle in, and as usual, to kind of get the mood settled, and of course, you can skip past this if you're watching the recording if you really want to. But we're going to take a few minutes out, right, to get the mood right. It's a song that I wanted to play last time, but I totally forgot. And it's still really good, and I think it's still really appropriate. And get ready. Like I said, it's a mood setter. We're about to dive down some of them rabbit holes just a little bit. Just a little bit tonight. We're going to get a little taste. All right, so that being said, without further ado, I think you're going to like this. It's a cover, it's a Natalie Press cover. You probably never heard of her. I'm really interested in Natalie Press's archive and stuff, and it's not very well known. So here's a person doing a cover song of a not very well known singer. All right, here we go, and it's pretty good. So here's a nice song. Hey, shout out to the person up in the building. I see you. We're gonna start in a couple minutes. I just wanted to listen to this lady real quick. I think she'll set the mood real quick. They always seem to get away. Down the stairs, you close the door. In the limelight, no, you couldn't stay. Is it all a grand design? Where falling stars run out of time and leave us all behind. Oh, tell me why. Tell me why do birds, do they sigh? Do? Oh, we can't believe it's true. We're so far from you. You see, far away and so long ago. That grand design that pushed blinding stars into your eyes. Oh, the radio is still alive. Oh, tell me why. Tell me why do birds, do they suddenly disappear instead of us singing here? Oh, what are we to do? Oh, we can't believe it's true. We're so far from you. So far from you. Will I hang on every word? So far from you. And you're singing your song in return. Just so far from you. And your sound is the most beautiful that I've heard. Oh, tell me why. Tell me why do birds, do they suddenly disappear instead of us singing here? Oh, what are we to do? Oh, we can't believe it's true. We're so far from you. So far from you. All right, y'all. I feel like that was very appropriate. I don't know how y'all feel out there, but I think that it set the mood just right. That was, of course, like I said, a Natalie Press cover done by this lady, and she did it real, real good herself. I'm sure that Natalie Press is. Here's the thing: I consider her world class at what she does. This other lady. Her name's Amber Landry. She's got a following. 286, that's pretty dang good. That's real dang good. And as you can tell, that's for a reason. And I am subscribed, I see. And I put on the alerts because I want to know. Thing is, I got to say, y'all, real quick about this Natalie Press singer. I would definitely suggest to check her out and stuff, some of her work. And I listen to it a lot, all right? And I can say that I may eventually make a whole episode just revolving around Natalie Press music because I think it's very interesting. All right, I can't get into it too much right now, but it's kind of bizarre, and it's one of those psychological things. You understand that something weird is going on here, something very weird but delightful sounding, coming from Natalie Press. But this lady, her name is Amber Landry. All right, so we're gonna dive into it. I don't know who's up in the building right now, but I see that there's two people up in the building. Hold on one second. I'll read the comments. There ain't no comments, so I don't know who you are. You're a mystery to me. I appreciate you anyways, but just to start off, just because I don't want to miss it, I don't want to miss this point. I want to holler at Bart Fine. All right, internationally known. He's being mentioned by Newsweek, and all sort of calamities ringing out because of Bart Fine. Holler at Bart Fine all day, every day. Type in Bart Fine on YouTube and see what you find. That is Bart like Bart Simpson. Fine like he's so fine. All right, no homo. But the thing is, I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to. I don't know if that's hateful speech, but I'm sorry about that. Anyways, Bart Fine, holler at that guy, and I want to say there's going to be some developments. Hopefully, I can't wait to see some developments with Bart Fine and see some of what he. I wouldn't say he'd be the only one predicting certain. He calls it a bioweapon. I think I'm not sure at this point. I think we can all say that it's probably synthetic, made in a laboratory. All right. I personally am leaning that way just because, okay, for example, you got the media machine, and the media machine will make sure to tell everybody the same thing all at once. And everybody knows it the next morning. For some reason, it pops up on their Google or something like that. So the media machine made sure to go out of their way to say bats and rats and snakes and stuff. And I've seen Asian people... I see the Asian people eating all sort of different things in a crazy, bizarre type of way. I don't want to get into it very much. I don't want to get into it very much. We're getting off on a tangent. But let's just say, like, certain cultures eat bizarre things. All right. And I know the Hispanic, what do they call it? Tex-Mex. Tex-Mex food, it's kind of bizarre sometimes. Mexican food, it could get bizarre out there, y'all. And it's something to think about. But I don't want to get too far off on a tangent. We got a lot of things lined up, technically speaking, that we could talk about. And Lord knows we're not going to have enough time to talk about all that sort of stuff. But we're going to get as much as we can possible. And also, I want to hear from y'all. What's happening in your specific area? The thing is, I've been, especially recently, looking into different areas in which I know people who live there. Right, and I'm finding some bizarre things, all right? So I know bizarre things are happening where you're at. I know it. So you might as well just go ahead and tell me, please. Tell everybody, all right? Let it be known. Safety first, as I always say, though. All right, you don't want to incriminate yourself and stuff. But we have all sort of things, and I'm not even sure which that we want to dive into specifically at first thing, because I got to mention for anybody listening to this recording or perhaps watching it, everything is going to be extremely important. Every last thing. So it's not, I might build up to something and there might be something at the end where, it's calamity, but it's going to be calamity all the way throughout. Everything is going to be important and bizarre in this broadcast. That much I can promise you. All right, so I don't know where we're going to start, but you know what? I assume make it kind of easy and start off on screenshots, y'all. Let's start off a little bit easy. I know that I've accumulated some. Here's a funny picture of me, y'all. That's not really me. That's not really my hair. But I have a story behind that. And I'm not going to tell the story right now because it'd be too long. It's like we got too much stuff to talk about, right? We need to go screenshots. All right. And like I said just a moment ago, I know people in all sort of places all over the world, and I can't keep up with everybody so much. It's hard for everybody to keep up. We got so much communication that's possible, but at the same time, dude, it's hard to keep up with everybody. especially if you know a lot of interesting people. So I know some people up in Cambodia. All right, and they liking the stuff. I don't know everything. Obviously, it's going to be a culture shock, and they obviously haven't told me everything that what's happens in Cambodia, but they have told me a lot of bizarre things, and it's funny. But a lot of good things as well. A lot of it could be because that person really enjoys being in Cambodia, all right, and doesn't see themselves leaving Cambodia necessarily in any time near in the future, at least as far as I can remember. And things change. But he does have a Cambodian lady, by the way, and it seems as though if you got your stuff together in any kind of sense financially, and you can make it in Cambodia, make the transition, you can find yourself a Cambodian lady. It's not going to be hard at all. Not at all. If that's what you want to get into, I don't think it's going to be hard at all. But that's a whole another different episode, all right, that we could talk about. We're not going to talk about that for too long. But I do have many stories about that sort of thing, going to Southeast Asian countries. And if you have your stuff financially together, well, you're going to snatch you any wife that you want, all right, up in Asia. That's what it seems like, but I'm not going to go too far into it. Anyways, millions. Here's the thing. He didn't tell me about this. I didn't know about this. It might be breaking news, but I saw it. I typed in Cambodia on the news. Like, just type in places where people who you know live in the earth and type in that on Google and then click the news tab. It's just, wow, dude. Millions of rabies infected dogs. See, there's so many questions about it. I don't think we're going to go into the article or the many pictures that you could see about it, but the headline kind of says it all. Affected dogs are being slaughtered for meat in drowning pits, watched over by chained up monkey, and a scene from hell in Cambodia. A charity finds, like, a charity was investigating some sort of stuff. It's called Four Paws Charity or something, and I don't know why they were investigating, but they were, and they went to Cambodia. And apparently, according to this person, according to this report, I can't be certain, but I do know people in Cambodia, and I will ask them about it. So there's drowning pits and stuff like that. I don't know, just all sort of different ways to kill dogs, to include beating them and stabbing them and stuff like that. Just stuff that here in America, it would be a culture shock. You wouldn't want to see that. You wouldn't want to have that happen. And Lord knows, we don't have that happen as far as we know, right? And if we did find out, there would be a reckoning. There would be a reckoning, right? So this guy alleges this. It's wild. And I saw different various pictures, and I can't say what's accurate or not, but this is what's being reported. And certainly enough, I mean, they really did have a chained up monkey. And I don't know how to see. There's a million questions, a million, right? And we need to get them organized and lined up so that we can ask these people what the hell is going on. Because, for example, what the hell is a monkey gonna do? What was the purpose of the monkey? It's interesting because the article implies that the monkey was overseeing the dogs in the drowning pit or something like that. I don't know what a monkey would do. I don't know what the job of a monkey is who's trained up, and there's all sort of different other things to be concerned about, obviously, in this whole deal. And is it so widespread and popular? And if so, we could debate all day about whether or not it's a good thing. It sounds like a bad thing. Now, here's what I took away from it. That's bizarre. But in general, I would say our culture is a lot better, obviously. Whatever culture. I know people in all sort of different countries who have better cultures than this, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's obvious. And also, it's probably, you got to look in the mirror and you got to think, well, about where do we get our food from, and our meat especially, because people hate us lots of times for eating the meat. And it's just a small minority of people who hate us. And I don't know, they're running all sort of um, propaganda and stuff, man. These people out here. Anyways, we eat meat, but we should obviously think about it. And I think most of the people who come to this channel actually have already thought about it. But there's not any reason to stop thinking about it. And I don't see myself stopping eating meat necessarily, but I would like to get my meat from a good place, from a place where whatever animal it is, and mind you, it's a specific type of animal. It's not just every animal I can find. Whatever animal it is, I want that animal to have lived a life. You know what I'm saying? Like they got their free will. They run around. They do this and that, whatever they want. That's what I want that animal to do, right before it gets shot, or shot with an arrow, or shot with a bullet, or something. Right before then, I want them to live an immaculate life, right? And I don't know if that, if that's, I don't know if that's the mindset of a lot of different countries, cultures around the world. And anyways, I don't want to get caught up on that too much, y'all. I'm gonna keep my eye on the comments for if anybody's got an interjection. But meanwhile, let's try to get through these screenshots real quick because I don't want to take forever on the screenshots. We got a lot of different things. We got way more than we could shake a stick at. Right? I want to show this. Oh man, this is actually kind of an esoteric thing. First of all, that Ryan Tannehill, he's a football player. He's from Big Spring. All right, and that was a place that I used to live at for a few years, and it was pretty cool. I like that place. It's a very wild place, extremely wild. And it's a small town, and I thought it was interesting. There's going to be a couple things to be said about Big Spring tonight, actually, because I was looking into it, because I do have people in Big Spring. I wanted to know the news, and so I was looking it up, and they're talking about Ryan Tannehill, of course, who would be the quarterback of, I don't know, those Titans or whatever. He makes money, all right? And so big ups to him, sparking passion. I wanted to mention this real briefly. In Big Spring, it's a small town. They did a news thing about Big Spring High School. And what they noted was that the enrollment for female welders, it's kind of an inspirational story. It's kind of a personal story that I can share for all the young ladies out there. To think about it, I'm not trying to for the young ladies, I'm not trying to negate your possibilities of your life and stuff, man. The sky's the limit. You can do whatever you think about. If you really want to do it, you could do it, and you just got to know what the heck you're doing. You got to you know what I'm saying, pick something good. Anyways, okay, so the enrollment in the high school for these ladies, as far as welding classes, which are available, which are just very you should take welding classes up in West Texas. All right, you want to make that money. It's for real. And these young ladies taking it. Thing is, I happen to know that only a couple of years ago, there's this other lady, and we don't have time to, Google her and stuff like that. But this other lady in Big Spring, she's well known in Big Spring, and she's a hot fox lady, but at the same time, stay away from her. She's dangerous as heck, I think. And everybody knew this lady. And anyways, she's known for doing all sort of things. She was a tow truck driver. I don't. She eventually got into being in the fire department. I think she's all over the place. This lady. Everybody knew her. She was a hot little fox. Thing is, she's dangerous. I always stayed away. Um, anyways, she did all sort of things, crazy yoga and stuff, and it was all on Facebook and everything. Okay, and then she also did welding. She does that like for art, and she welds these crazy, incredible things and stuff as art, and she sells them. And I was like, dang, dude, she's overly trying to be inspiring. It's kind of weird. It's kind of bizarre, to be honest. But I really have reason to believe that she inspired all these ladies, these young ladies, to get into welding. She alone in her little town inspired like 16 ladies, and it'll probably be a thing that happens more and more often now. And I'm not saying that ladies shouldn't wind up having babies and meeting families and stuff like that. I promote that real quick, but at the same time, you can learn to weld. I'm not gonna stop you from learning how to weld. I think it's a good thing. Anyways, another West Texas city, because we're gonna talk about Big Spring just for a second. Right, I want to put them on blast. I used to be living out there for a few years. Like I said, enjoyed it, but it's a very bizarre place. Right, it's another city I noticed that's fixing to outlaw abortion, or maybe it just did in the whole city. And a lot of cities are going ahead and doing that and setting a precedent of outlawing it within city limits. I gotta mention, just because I lived there, a couple of notes. Number one, I don't think that there's a clinic big enough, technically speaking, or I mean, there is the VA and stuff, but I don't think there's like a feasible clinic in Big Spring where you could have gotten an abortion at all. That's not to say people in Big Spring haven't gotten abortions, but they probably go to another town like Midland or something like that. It's a little bit bigger and probably has more facility for that. All right, but that's not to take anything away from Big Spring. I want to shout out to them and holler at them because that is cool. I like the president that they sent as far as saying, hey, it's illegal, stop killing the babies. All right, even though technically I don't think it was happening to begin with, but they're setting a precedent that way. And I can appreciate that. At the same time, before we get out of here, also per capita, not to dog on Big Spring, but they have a very high amount of suicides, right? And I don't even know if we can say that word on the internet, but they do. A lot of them, a notable amount. So it's kind of interesting. It's like, it's kind of, I'm not trying to dog on that. I still enjoy the precedent that they set. All right, but it's kind of a bizarre place. Let's see. San Antonio man accused of this and that. I don't know. It's something about a Yeti cooler counterfeit, and that was kind of dumb. It was kind of bizarre, but that wasn't really that interesting. I took a picture because some people were trying to design a pothole patching robot. That's interesting. I feel like that's in the long run going to be a bad, terrible idea, right? And we're only going to find out. Time will tell. But I honestly think that that's going to be a stupid idea. Meanwhile, the way that we do it right now is not that terrible. If we can get people to do it more faster, or maybe get more people to do it. But the thing is that costs money, all right? Taxpayer money. People are wilding out, all right? Let's race through the rest of these screenshots. I'm no longer entertained, but at the same time, they probably have important stuff like this. For example, you can go to the San Antonio Zoo and to name a roach and name it after your ex, according to this headline, and feed it to zoo animals. What kind of disgusting stuff's going on? This is San Antonio. It's my backyard. All right? It's ridiculous. Okay, San Antonio Spurs potential trade. That's probably dumb. San Antonio children peanut allergy. That's probably dumb too. Oh, here's what I wanted to talk about. This is kind of national news. There's only certain places in which people are being transported who may or may not be infected with the coronavirus. One of those places is San Antonio. And the thing is, I don't know exactly how to feel about it. It does seem like people are shipping their diseases to us more often than not, but at the same time, we do have a lot of infrastructure. And so I can see both sides of the fence in that. I mean, they're actually housing people at Lackland Air Force Base, it seems. I'm guessing that they probably have a hospital in there. That's what they're doing. They're not doing it in the medical center necessarily, but we have a lot of infrastructure, I guess you would say. You know, I can't argue against it necessarily, but I'm going to hope against hope that they keep everybody quarantined, that they lock them up in that Air Force Base so that they don't go around giving us all corona and stuff like that unnecessarily. Now there's all sorts of things being alleged about the corona. We don't even have time to get all into them. You might want to leave a comment in the comment section if you have a theory and stuff and you believe you're correct. I want to know about it. But you know, all sort of things being said. You got the rats, bats, snakes diet and all sort of this and that. I don't necessarily believe in that. You got the idea of it being a synthetic lab-borne virus, which can go one of several different ways, and I tend to believe in that because it just so happens to be so convenient that they have laboratories that are filled to the tip top with viruses over there in that specific area of China, right? All sort of theories. Does it hurt one specific racial group of people more than another? I don't know. Time will tell. We're about to find out. But anyway, things are getting wild, real wild, and obviously we don't know the whole truth about this sort of stuff. And time will tell. I don't know why I took a picture of that. All right, but check out this lady. If you've seen this face before, you're gonna remember it. Obviously, I forget her name. I think it was Wanda or something. Wanda Snipes or something like that. Anyways, they're talking about the Iowa caucus. Y'all might have heard about this if you're all politically informed or something. They recently had a caucus in Iowa, and it went all to smithereens, and everybody's crying foul, and it looks stupid, and none of it makes sense, and it all looks very bizarre, and it was done haphazardly. All right, just in case if you hadn't heard. And so they're talking about Iowa caucus, but this is a South Florida news, Miami Herald, and they're talking about, hey, look, remember when we had a whole debacle and everything was blown up to smithereens and all sort of tomfoolery was going on? Remember that election, that previous election? And probably, more likely, all the elections before that? Remember when we were stealing them and stuff and it was all over the top? Remember we got that? Every time you see this face, that's the only thing you should think about, all right, is the fact is, dude, who would trust that face with your votes, obviously? So they're getting all sort of truckload of votes that aren't exactly legit. And I tend to believe that that's happening all over the nation. Probably in your town, definitely in my town, for sure. And I can guarantee it. All right, a university gift shop, man, dang it. These things are wild, right? So, university gift shop hung historical black figures from tree-like displays, all right? And if you're seeing what I'm seeing, obviously, come on, man. I don't even think we could show this on YouTube. There's not one person in America, for that matter, who would ever look at this for 1 second and think, "Oh yeah, this is a good idea. It's a good idea in the gift shop at the university." All right, from tree-like displays, black students said it looked like. Well, you know what? Those whatever black students, I don't really have time to calculate what's politically correct, but I would agree with them. That looks bizarre. That looks outrageous, and I tend to think it was a hoax and it was made up, and nobody did this. I tend to think it's fake news. Now, only time will tell, but I have a certain reputation, and the thing is, I think it's all the way fake. I think somebody set it up. Anyways, I see that we got people up in the comments section. I want to acknowledge you, all right? Because we're going to run through these screenshots real quick, but I'm just not even that entertained. But the thing is, it is very bizarre. We got Jacob Longer up in the building. Shout out to you, all right? Y'all going to be my co-host for tonight. And I'm going to have to rely on you for the bulk of the rest of the content. All right, so I hope that you're ready. Did you see a Parkland parent started yelling during Trump's State of the Union? Yes, Jacob Longer, I did. All right, and just because you brought it up, actually, I know that that was in the lineup. We were going to talk about that already. Yes, I did see that, and we're going to emphasize it just because you brought it up. And I mean that. All right, and it's Jacob Longer again. He says they eat a bat soup. They eat a bat soup in China that knowingly makes people sick. They think that's where the virus started. And you know what? I still know very smart people out there who are saying the same thing, the bat soup and the rat soup. And I've seen Asian people eating all sort of stuff, wild stuff, dude. And I wish I hadn't seen it. And like I said, not to look at Asian people and judge them for what they eat. That's all right. That's what they eat. Meanwhile, I want to look in the mirror and make sure that what I'm eating is nothing like what they're eating at all. All right. I want to make sure that that's conscientiously on my mind from here on out. All right. So people have a lot of different theories. That would be Jacob Longer's theory that they should stop eating all sort of rabies-infested things. Meanwhile, I didn't hardly bring up, but when we're talking about in Cambodia, allegedly in Cambodia, where they're slaughtering all these dogs by the millions, they say, you know, it's possible that these dogs are infected by rabies. And a big part of what's bad about that is you can cook it up and maybe eat up the rabies, and you could get it. That's what they're saying, allegedly, or somehow get like blood on you and stuff, and you might end up getting rabies. And it's weird how the article put it. It made it towards like a million questions because it's like, dude, it made it seem like millions of these dogs could have rabies. Which I know that that can't be the case. It has to only be some of the dogs have rabies. But that was, I mean, it left it up into interpretation, which was very bizarre. If you go and check out that article, very bizarre. They said there could be millions of dogs with rabies in this dang thing. And it's like, okay, the possibility that there could be millions of dogs with rabies in the dang thing, it's like, dude, where are these dogs coming from? That's what you gotta think about. It's like the numbers of dogs, right, and cats for that matter. But the numbers, where are these dogs coming from? Where are they coming from? Do they have pet dogs in Cambodia? Who in the world? How can you live in a culture where some people have pet dogs and other people are feasting on all sort of tortured dogs and slaughtered dogs? Like, you can't have that both at the same time. So all sort of questions. And I will ask my people on the ground in Cambodia. But that's to say, okay, what if some of the dogs got rabies? It's like, dude, how many dogs with rabies do you have lying around? It's like, I can't imagine. This is ridiculous. Millions? I tend to not even believe that number. Millions of dogs? You know how small Cambodia is? I have a globe right now. I mean, it's not very big, you guys. All right? Millions of dogs. That must be made up news. I don't know. I'm not sure. Rabies doesn't work like that. Yeah, I wouldn't think it does work like that. I mean, hopefully that's fake news, or I don't know where they're getting at with that. All right, but I'm gonna ask my people on the ground. Anyways, here's a screenshot, and we're gonna talk about this. right? As I see that we're, getting into, we've already spent a lot of time, hopefully productively, but we got to start getting into the more nitty gritty, all right, which we tend to do in the latter half of this here broadcast. So we're gonna do it. I want to bring up this because we're going to talk about it probably a little bit later. Is the combine? Here's the thing. On a personal note, we're gonna touch upon this a little bit more later in the broadcast. But I remember when the whole Columbine thing happened. Vividly, I remember hearing about it on the news. And what I could say is the first time I heard about it was on my way to school. Right, so it must have been pretty damn early when you consider Colorado. Right, they're a little bit behind us as far as time zones. And I was going to school when I heard the news. Right, and blah blah blah, and everybody knows what happens after that. And basically, the story and the narrative. I was either in sixth or seventh grade. I don't know exactly, but I was in middle school, real young, when I heard this happening and stuff. This is well before the internet really took hold, as far as YouTube and places like that, and the sharing of information on the way that information I'm sure was shared. On the internet for a long, long time, but not at the capacity it is right now as far as Columbine. So that's going to be interesting, and I want to touch upon that. And we're actually going to have a video to look at on that later. All right, so we're going to have that lined up. But what the heck? What else do I got? You know, we might talk about this later, but I took screenshots of this, for example. I'm not going to read what that says, right? Go ahead and read it. I don't want to get banned from YouTube, but the thing is, that's a comment that I saw on YouTube, and this is a video. This is the same video that deals with Columbine and stuff like that. So as far as people on the internet saying wild things on YouTube, yeah, hell yeah, it happens. And sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not so funny, but there's always trolls, and it doesn't matter how heinous the incident is or whether or not it's even like advisable to be shown on YouTube. There's gonna be wild comments and stuff like that, and just let it be known. All right. The thing is, um, just weird comment. Oops. People have weird experiences. You really can't put yourself in their shoes necessarily, but people leave wild comments. All right. And are we gonna jealous people? That seems like an absurd question to jail people for saying these absurd, wild stuff on the internet. It seems kind of absurd, but at the same time, there's probably half of America who would want to lock people up for doing this sort of stuff, right? And there's probably a lot of people who would want to lock people up for doing this sort of stuff who also secretly do this sort of stuff on YouTube. And all right, so I don't want to get too far off on the weeds. We had all sort of screenshots to go over and stuff. Maybe we'll do it some other time, but dang, it's way too much. In fact, I got to delete a lot of these. I got way too much, right? We're just going to focus on this one for just a quick second. I just wanted to focus on that one. All right, for our TV viewers and stuff right there. I just wanted to focus on that visual. But, okay, let's go to YouTube. And like I said, getting some of that nitty gritty, we are going to talk about that Parkland incident as far as the State of the Union, as was brought up by our man, Jacob Longer, the co-host for tonight. And I appreciate him. He's really putting us on point, keeping us on point. That was definitely a point that I was going to talk about already, but we're on the same wavelength, me and Jacob Longer. So I'm going to go to my library. I'm going to go to my history because I know it's back there. And scroll through some of my recent history. All of it's going to be bizarre and stuff and interesting. You're talking about the impeachment. I was looking at some people talking about the impeachment. Apparently that was acquitted today. I was asleep and I didn't know about that. There's various videos that I definitely want to talk about, to include this Donovan Sharp one, and it's about tattoos, and this girl who's regretting her tattoos. I don't know if we're going to have time for that tonight, but I definitely want to dive into that. And it's been something that we've talked about here on this channel. And I feel like it's real crucial, but we might not have time for it tonight. All right, just to go ahead and skip to what Jacob Longer was talking about as far as the Parkland thing. There's a video of it right now. All right, and hopefully we won't get no buffering. And if we do start to experience buffering, I will cut the video short, and we'll talk about it. Most of y'all probably seen it, but it's only 2 minutes long, and it's actually local news, and they're talking about a specific. Y'all remember the Parkland people? There's people who died at Parkland, Some people don't believe it. I tend to believe it. I'm a believer that some people died in Parkland. All right, that's controversial, but this guy, he's okay. You're gonna see. So we're gonna talk about it on the other end. But let's go ahead and play this dang video.
Are getting new reaction today from Fred Gutenberg, the Parkland parent who was thrown out of last night's State of the Union address.
And Gutenberg is shouting at President Trump as he was promising to defend the Second Amendment. Local 10's Janine Stanwood has more now from our newsroom. Janine.
And as you know, Fred Gutenberg has been an outspoken advocate of gun safety and a critic of President Trump. Well, last night he got angry and then he got booted from the State of the Union.
In reaffirming our heritage.
Right there in the upper level of House chambers is Parkland parent Fred Gutenberg, singled out by security, briefly grabbed by the arm, and booted out. It happened seconds after the president said this.
So long as I am president, I will always protect your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms.
As Republicans clap, Gutenberg shouts, "What about victims of gun violence, like my daughter?" Gutenberg, who was guest of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, says he was handcuffed and detained, tweeting, "I let my emotions get the best of me. I simply want to be able to deal with the reality of gun violence and not have to listen to the lies about the Second Amendment." Many came to his defense, like Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
When the president started talking about the Second Amendment and didn't mention the importance of dealing with gun violence and passing common sense gun safety laws, it was too much for him to take.
Parkland parent Max Schachter also lending support, writing, "Fred and I will always have a special bond. We are unfortunately in that same club that no other parent wants to be a part of." But Andrew Pollack, who also lost a child in the 2018 shooting, expressed support for the president, tweeting, "Thank you, Mr. President, for a booming economy, safer schools, and protecting our Second Amendment." And Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart said this.
No, look, I think it's important to always respect the institutions. This is the State of the Union.
And reaction is still coming in. Support from California Governor.
All right, enough from that lady right there, right? But I can say that I actually did wind up seeing, I believe, most of the Donald Trump State of the Union. I caught it real early, and I watched and I listened to the rest of it. And just on a personal note, I don't know what y'all feel out there, but when you're talking about rhetoric, I'm not even talking about actions, although there's a lot of actions that I've seen that I tend to agree with. And some that I don't, right? And I'm just going to go for every single president, man. It doesn't matter who it is. But as far as rhetoric goes, immaculate, all right? Everything I'd want to hear. Everything. If you're just going to go by rhetoric, everything I'd want to hear. Just over and over, immaculately done, flawlessly done. Can't nobody say nothing. Can't nobody tell him nothing. Kind of like Kanye West, that song. Can't nobody tell him nothing off his speeches. Can't nobody tell him nothing, right? That's the thing about it. And you really think about it and look at it. And me personally, what I got to say is, if you don't like what he's saying, just what he's saying, forget who he is. If you don't like what the words coming out of his mouth, then I think you hate America. I think you hate babies. I think you don't even know it. And I think you're going wild and crazy with this DTS and stuff like that. And I pray for you. I really sincerely do, but at the same time, you don't seem to like America. Here's the thing. From an outsider's perspective, like, for example, this was the State of the Union. A lot of people see it as grandeur and theater and stuff like that. I can appreciate that. But at the same time, on the other end, when I look at it objectively, it's the State of the Union. There's a purpose for it. What is the purpose for it? There's a couple of purposes. Number one, you kind of give the people a feel of what you're thinking about, what you're planning on doing, what you have done, what's going on, the progress that they have seen or should have seen and will see in the near future. That'd be a good purpose for the State of the Union. Secondly, is for all the other countries, because guess what? They have TVs and internet. It's for all the other countries to see plainly and clearly that we're balling out of control, or like that we're handling our business. Even if we aren't balling, we're ready to step up and be the best country in the whole world. If we want to do it, we can go ahead and just do it. And so we got to have a strong front. That's another purpose. It's not just for our country. It's for the outside people looking in to see, oh, we got our crap together, and in fact, we love babies, and in fact, we love success. In fact, we want more success. We're never tired of gaining more success and babies and stopping this criminality. It's running rampant. All right, and we talk about this criminality a lot, and it is running rampant. It is out of control. It's been out of control for a long time. All right, in order to bring that to justice, we have to recognize the different ways in which it's out of control. I think we all know this. Obviously, that's why we come together up here on this broadcast, right? Anyways, okay, so that's the purpose of the State of the Union. As far as I see it, those are the purposes of the State of the Union. So that being said, this man, Fred Gutenberg, he went ahead and he basically embarrassed our country in front of everybody, in front of the whole world. And he doesn't even care that he did it. Meanwhile, he didn't spontaneously do it, obviously. Obviously, it doesn't take a genius to know that Donald Trump is going to bring up the Second Amendment in his State of the Union. All right. So Fred Gutenberg, he was invited by, what's her name? Wasserman Schultz. And I already knew about that. She was particularly inviting him. He knew he was coming. Everybody knew Donald Trump was going to talk about the Second Amendment. Fred Gutenberg premeditatedly stood up and embarrassed the country. He planned it out, and him and his good buddy Wasserman Schultz both did. Total embarrassments, right? And I don't appreciate it, and that's the thing about it. We've got to look in the mirror. At the end of the day, you got to look in the mirror, because I think that's how we're going to change stuff. I got to know, next president coming up, whoever it is, and it might be a disgusting monster like Wasserman Schultz. That may be as it is, but you don't stand up and cause havoc during the State of the Union. You pick an appropriate place to do your protesting and stuff like that. That's premeditated, and you embarrass the country. Meanwhile, I'm not even going to go into the principle necessarily. The fact is, your reasonable gun laws do not make sense and are not proven by science or anything else. All right, and people keep coming up to you and explaining you that your notions of reasonable gun laws just don't make sense and fly in the face of reality and history. All right, and everybody knows that. In fact, a lot of people have lost their lives over it, to the tune of millions, probably throughout history. Okay, so with that being said, okay, we got maybe 10, 15. Maybe 20 minutes. I don't know. We'll see how far we can go with it. I like to leave myself ample time to get ready to go get that money, which is what I do when I'm not on YouTube. All right. But that being said, we're all up in the Parkland thing. We're talking about that. A lot of people have different various theories as far as Parkland. Everybody knows it's very controversial. We don't have time to go into too much right now. Obviously, there's developments every day as far as Parkland goes, and it's something that no matter what, 2 years ago, pretty much, this event was, and they still had people coming to the State of the Union, for example, from Parkland. Like, these people are permanently famous, even though nobody cares hardly at all. No matter politically, nobody cares about these people because they're so uninteresting, they're so unattractive, they do not have any sort of answers or expertise on anything. All they have is whining and crying and protesting. And I'm sorry, that's the thing about it. I can't imagine, right? But technically I can imagine, because a lot of people lose their daughters, and it's a terrible thing. But at the same time, this is 2 years ago, and you're not even making sense, right? And never mind the fact is your daughter was in ROTC anyways. It's like certain people want to have guns, but they don't want other people to have guns. They want to have all the guns. Some of these anti-gun people want, because there's some gun owners who own guns, and that's what's interesting. Make a note of that. There's some gun owners who want guns, but they don't want other people to have guns. And so they have guns, but they are also for gun restrictions, and it flies in the face of reality. Doesn't make no sense. Okay, that being said, I did want to touch upon this. It's probably going to be the main thing for tonight. Let me check the comments just to make sure. I don't want to be rude. Rabies doesn't work like that. Jacob Longer, I know a lot of people will probably have more expertise on rabies than I do, but he says that rabies don't even work like that. That's what I'm saying. I know that millions of dogs I don't want to get stuck on that, but it's like, dude, millions of dogs can't have rabies. This is an impossible story that you're telling people. And what the hell is the monkey doing? What is the job and responsibilities of the monkey who's chained up? That doesn't, I don't want to get caught up on that. All right, because there's one thing in particular that I wanted to talk about, and we alluded to it earlier. That's Columbine, like I said. Happened before a lot of these people on the internet were even alive, right? But it happened way, way back when I was in middle school. I don't even know how many years ago that was. It was a long time ago. It happened way, way back, and this was before the internet. It's before all sort of conspiracy theorists are on the internet espousing their theories and wreaking havoc. Right? So I look back on it, and I'm diving into it a little bit. All right, just to, because I wanted to find out some more. I was a small kid back when this happened. Obviously, I didn't know all the details, but I'd heard a lot of it because, trust me, it was talked about a lot everywhere you went and stuff. And I remember all throughout the rest of my public school career, they would talk about Columbine. Even throughout my high school years, in which people actually spoke in front of us. Some people from Columbine, or not people from Columbine, but I believe some parents actually came and they revealed their story. They talked about their story to my high school class. And I was affected in an interesting way about that story that was being told to me in my high school class. Meanwhile, I was a high school student, I was a kid, and I wasn't paying attention to nothing really. I was absorbing everything like a sponge, but I wasn't harnessing the energy at all. So okay, the whole Columbine thing happened when I was in middle school. And I didn't know too much about it, but I would hear stuff about it. For example, there was like a Christian element to it in the story, like something about Christianity. I remember that when I was in middle school. And then they accused Marilyn Manson of being dark and demonic. Marilyn Manson, the artist, the music artist. And they said, well, he inspired this whole thing. Maybe he should be punished for it. And like this stuff like that. They said it was two boys and they conspired to do this. They were loners and outsiders. These were the details that I'd heard back then, even when I was a kid. They were loners and outsiders and stuff. And like they were white guys. And I know that for some reason was being harnessed upon. There were two lonely white guys in high school, and they were part of what's called a trench coat mafia, and I'd heard about that back then. And all these details were absorbing in, and like I didn't really think about it very much. I was just like, that's wild, but that's not around where I'm at. All right, so it didn't really affect me hardly. All right, but I'd heard all these details. Okay, so time goes on, and I go to high school, and I don't remember what year, but in high school, we had a thing where everybody got up into the auditorium, and like different shifts of people. It was a fairly big high school. There's so many high schools in San Antonio. It's a big place, a lot of people. So we did it in shifts, but a lot of people got into it in the auditorium, and we were spoken to by parents of victims of Columbine, right? And I can't remember exactly, but I remember it was brought up. I want to say the mother of a lady by the name of Rachel Scott. And for those who've researched Columbine, they'll know who I'm talking about. I believe it was her mother or father who got up and told a story about her, probably Rachel's story, which actually, from what I understand, became like a book or this and that. Like it was documented, the whole Rachel story that became a big thing. I wasn't very aware of it, but I became kind of aware of it at that high school thing in the auditorium. And I don't remember if they were brought up in particular or if they were there actually, but I remember Rachel's story was a theme that I took away from it. And from the first time that I heard Rachel's story, what I took in from it was not much. I wasn't very insightful, but I remember thinking to myself, it's kind of bizarre. And I didn't question the shooting or anything like that, and I still don't question the shooting. And I want to let that be known, but we're going to talk about that a little bit more. I didn't question it at all. Nothing. I was conspiracies. What the hell is that? So back in high school, but when I heard that story, I was like, that's kind of bizarre, and I didn't really necessarily believe it. I was like, dude, there has to be something wrong with this story that I was just told. I didn't know what it is. I didn't think about it very much, but I remember having that notion. And ever since then, that's kind of been growing and stuff. To the point is, before conspiracy theories were all like a thing where people were afraid of them on the internet, for some reason I had it in my mind. I was like, I think this Rachel story was all made up. I swear I was thinking this in high school, and I'm talking about, well, how long ago was that? How long? 2004, or probably 2003, 2004. I'm thinking, I think this whole Rachel story is made up before anybody. I never heard of anybody say this, and I only said it to myself. Like, I didn't tell anybody. I might have told one or two people, but I was like, I think this whole Rachel story is misconstrued and made up. And eventually I became suspicious of Rachel. And real quick, I know a lot of people had their theories of Columbine, what probably went down. More than likely, there's a lot of people with different theories. But my theory was, I don't buy this whole Rachel story. And to myself, I was like, dude, I think Rachel was in on this whole thing. And that was my theory, is these two boys shot up everything, and they blew up these bombs, but it was a conspiracy to do so. A conspiracy, obviously, because there's two of them working together. So it's like, okay, they knew they were going to kill themselves at the end, right? There's two people, and they're participants, and they knew that they were going to kill themselves at the end. This is how my theory was being grown. And I don't know if I believe it today. I'm not even vouching for any theory right now. So as far as hate speeching, I'm not even vouching for any theory. But this was my theory back then, is that these two fellas, they knew they were going to kill themselves at the end anyways. It was like a kamikaze mission. So it's like, dude, what if Rachel was in on this whole thing and she knew the whole time? Isn't it a coincidence that she was the first one killed, or one of the first ones killed? I was like, dude, in my conspiratorial mind, I was like, dude, it's a weird coincidence that everybody in this situation knew that they were going to die. And I was like, dude, Rachel knew too much. Rachel knew these guys, for example, and was pretty good friends with the guys. So isn't that interesting? And it's like everybody in this situation knew that they were going to die. I was like, why wouldn't Rachel also know that she was going to die? Technically speaking, how do we know either way? I was like, and how do we know she wasn't in on it? And how do we know she wasn't conspiring to make herself the hero in this whole story? She was in on it. She got the two. That was my theory. And it's not my theory anymore, but my theory was that she actually inspired these two guys to go through with it, and she knew she was going to change the world or whatever. She wanted to have her big, like, last thing, so she convinced these guys to do it. And because of her influence, you know, her female influence and stuff, got them all revved up, and they did do it, and she was in on it. And meanwhile, she comes out looking like the hero and living forever throughout history. I don't know why she would do that, but you can imagine somebody doing that. That was my theory back then. I'm not saying that's my theory now, but ever since then, I had like this mild theory about what the heck. I don't believe, out of the whole Columbine thing, the thing I focused on the whole time was Rachel's story. I don't necessarily believe it. All right. Real quickly, all right, as we wind it down a little bit, but I want to get to the kind of a little bit more interesting, and I do have a video to share with y'all right now, and I think you'll find it very interesting. All right, I was looking at it earlier. I don't know how familiar you are with the different various videos that you can see as far as testimonials go, as far as Columbine goes. All right, but I do want to say, and on a personal note, one of my favorite bands ever. All right, and I listen to this stuff all the time. It's a band that's no longer together, and for different various reasons, and I'm pretty sure I know the reasons. All right, and it's kind of scandalous, but I'm not going to talk about it right now. One of my favorite bands ever is a band called Flyleaf. They're from Texas, all right? They're no longer together. I saw one of their last shows actually together, all with the original members, and it delights me to say that I saw one of their last shows. You know, I actually caught it in time. That was the first show that I ever seen from them. They were amazing. Flyleaf, amazing. I listen to them all the time. All right, but the reason I bring them up is they have this one popular song. It's called Cassie. It's not very popular, like it wasn't on the radio, but when it comes to Flyleaf, people who listen to their music, Cassie is a big song. All right, and you know, we could go into the lyrics right now, but I don't think it's necessary. The thing is about Cassie is it's about Columbine, and it makes reference to two girls, actually. I want to say there's three girls who wound up getting killed in that whole incident, but it made reference to two girls. One was Rachel, the lady who I was talking about, and the other one was Cassie, which is the song's named after. That'd be a Cassie Bernal. All right, so I was diving down a little bit of a rabbit hole the other day. It's going to be in my history. If we go a little bit farther back into my history, we're going to see the video that I was looking at concerning Columbine. And it's actually titled Cassie Bernal, all right? So I was looking into specific people in regards to Columbine, just to narrow it down, like, you know, to get more of a focus. You find who's the victims, narrow down on that person, see what exactly is their story. So I was looking into Cassie Bernal. And if I'm not mistaken, this is this particular video. And it's an 8-minute video, but I'm going to cut a few minutes in, right? Because, you know, go ahead and check it out. It's on Sherman Jorgensen's YouTube right now. It's not a very popular channel. It's hard to find, but you heard it here first, right? It's called Cassie Bernal. And I want to discuss that the whole video is going to be worth seeing, so go ahead and check it out. But we're going to cut a few minutes in, and we're going to see something that's quite interesting. If you haven't dived down the Columbine deal, I've only just barely started, and I feel like it's going to be very interesting. But without further ado, I'm going to show the video, and then we're going to talk about it on the other end, what it is that we're looking at on this here video. If you've never seen it, it's a world exclusive, and I think you're going to find it bizarre. See, that's the beginning, y'all. Hold on. Right? So that's the beginning. And before we play the part that I want to play, we're going to cut in a few minutes into it. I want to say, remember, there was like a Christian element. I remember there's something about a Christian element, and it was even in that song. In fact, that's what the Flyleaf song was about. There was this Christian element, and at one point, Cassie allegedly in the song, or somebody's asked if they believe in God. And if their answer is yes, well, then they're going to get shot dead, right? And that's kind of the theme of the song, right? And there's this Christian element, and I didn't know very much about it, and I still don't, but that's what I remember. And you know what I'm saying? That's one of the things that I took away from the whole Columbine deal. That being said, let's play the rest of this video and check out the rest of this here video.
We were on the floor, climbing under tables, over backpacks, and I look over to my right, and there's pipe bombs going off. And you just hear all this gunshots and bombs.
I found those hours of waiting to be the most difficult thing. I didn't sleep that night because every time I closed my eyes, I imagined her in the library and what she looked like. If she was cold, you know, is somebody taking care of her?
I believe that there were angels all around us, because those 3 kids right behind, they were directly behind me, and that's when I committed myself to Christ. It wasn't because I was afraid to die or get shot. It's because it was time.
Hey Dave, it's Julie Wysocki. It's 5:15. I was just calling to see if you'd located Cassie. Let me know, okay?
I was absolutely changed for the rest of my life. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of anything. I mean, I have God, and they can kill me. They can do whatever. I don't know what's going to happen now, but I have God, and they can't take that away.
Through it all, there was such a bubble over us, and God was with us the whole time, and we were so protected, and we were just so comforted throughout it all.
I ran back to the table, grabbed Crystal, my sister, got under the table, and I told them, you know, I don't know what's going on, but just start praying, because, I just don't know. We just decided that, you know, whatever's going to happen, you know, the only way we're going to get through this is, you know, to let God take care of us.
It was
just had to keep praying because it was the only way we could get through it. We just had to stay calm and just, that's where our faith came in, just believing that he would bring us through. I believe with all my heart that Seth, Sarah, and I were all just invisible, and God made us invisible because they were walking all around us, and so many people around us were shot and wounded and even killed, and we ran out of there without a single wound. And that's only by the power of God that we got out of there.
All right. I'm sorry. It's just a funny face that she's making. It has nothing to do with the video. Here's the thing. I'm going to stop right there. There's a little bit more to that video, I think, as far as witness testimonials go. And I want to say a couple different things. You know, my mind races when I see this video. I don't know about you, but my mind races to a whole bunch of different questions. A whole bunch of different notes, for example. Like if you take a look at these children, for example, they might remind you, these particular children, correct me if I'm wrong, but they might remind you of a certain other group of children that we know. I'm going to give you a second to think about it. What other group of children do we know that these people, it's almost like they're the exact same as the other group of children that we know, all right? So, okay, I did make that note. And at the same time, there's other notes, like, for example, the whole Christian thing. As far as you hearing these kids and stuff, they're like, oh, man, God saved us and stuff. You heard that young boy, and he's like, that's when I became born again. Why? Because it was time and stuff. I don't know. I can't get a picture of him, but you remember that young boy. He's like, oh, it's about time. And then this lady over here, she's like, God saved us. And he was looking over us. And it's kind of bizarre in a sense. I want to point out because, okay, that's an interesting note. It wasn't very Christian overall. I mean, there were some Christians who allegedly got shot up over there at Parkland, but people weren't talking about God so much. You notice that's a stark difference. Parkland, they weren't talking about God so much, or they're talking about some sort of God, some sort of ambiguous God. But over here, they were talking about Christian God of the Bible. All right, all these kids right here. I thought that was kind of interesting. But it's kind of an interesting note that is similar to, say, for example, if you remember Samantha Grady. And there's a couple different people who are like, oh man, God spared us. I believe in God, and because God saved me and God stepped in and intervened and saved my life. But meanwhile, you have to understand, or maybe you don't, that that's very selfish. It sounds extremely selfish because there's people all around you getting totally murked right then and there. You saying that God was looking over you is basically saying that God was not looking over those people and he was like smiting those people, but you were God's chosen, right? And so that's kind of selfish the way that you're making it sound, right? And that's my only grievance that I would put across is that particular notion. Saying it like that makes it seem like everybody else was garbage to God, right? He didn't care about them, but he cared about you. Sounds very selfish. All right, but okay, here's what I want to say. Some of the biggest notes that I took away from this video is, all right, I don't have a theory about Columbine. You can try to get me for hate speech and stuff, and maybe you will, but I don't have a theory. All right, as far as the theory I had before, it's kind of interesting. I still play with the notion, but I'm not invested in it. All right, I just want to point certain things out, what I come across as I dive down a rabbit hole, as I get more acquainted with this various goings on at Columbine. What I can say is this. I have no reason to disbelieve what these children, for example, are saying. And we did hear from Cassie Bernal's mom at the beginning. I don't have no reason to question them, right? As far as the official narrative, the news and everything, I don't have no reason to question it. As far as these guys shooting up the school and stuff and doing all these pipe bombs and stuff, I'm not saying any different, all right? By all means, that's exactly what happened. By all means, all the stories that these people are telling, exactly what happened, okay? That being said, from this video, and probably other videos that we're going to see subsequently, I can say that whoever edited this video should be a damn shame to yourself, right? Because you made it look like the way, for example, the way that they have people interviewing, it's very unnatural. It can be done a lot better as far as where's the camera placed. As far as who are they talking to, are they having a conversation, you can make it seem more genuine. It does not seem genuine the way that you're doing it, and it's the same way they did it for Parkland and every other mass shooting. It does not seem genuine the way that they're telling the stories. Meanwhile, they shouldn't be telling the stories to the media at all. They should be talking to police and nobody else about this particular incident. You're trying to put it on blast, though, so you put them in the news and you put them in People magazine, right? And so now they're telling all their stories. It's unnatural. They don't have all the details together. They're not good at unveiling what it is that happened and took place. You shouldn't be talking to them immediately after the incident while they're crying and stuff. You shouldn't be interviewing them. At this point, you should not be interviewing them because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And quite clearly, they don't know what they're talking about. Meanwhile, I'm not saying that they weren't a part of this. I'm not saying that this didn't happen to them, that they're not survivors. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying that it looks like the way that y'all shot it, the way that y'all were playing alternative rock music in the back. Look, let me play it again.
We just had to stay calm and just, that's where our faith came in, just believing that he would bring us through.
Right, the alternative rock music in the back, all right, from the early 90s, like it's Saved by the Bell or something. It makes it seem as though these people's testimonies are disingenuous. It makes it look that way. I'm not saying that it is that way. I'm saying that's what it looks like on face value. Meanwhile, we didn't have the internet back then necessarily, back when this was going on. I mean, we did, but not to this extent. And people weren't sharing information back then. Was there anybody talking about the fact is that this looks, the way they made it look and sound is totally disingenuous and like it was a silly joke. Right? And when I say that they should be ashamed of themselves for putting this out, I don't know if it was Sherman Jorgensen himself that produced this video, but damn, dude, disgraceful. All sort of disgraceful. Let's assume the situation happened exactly as purported. The official narrative, your little clip right here is absolutely disgraceful, distasteful, and disgusting. Everything about it is the exact opposite of what you should have done had this been a serious crime that took place, and I believe it is a serious crime. Right? It should be investigated, but it's these sort of things that become normalized, all right? And we're so normalized by these bizarre things that as we dive down the rabbit hole, we realize it goes farther back and farther back and farther back, and actually it just keeps going, basically. And it has me thinking about what's going on. I want to see these other videos. I want to hear a testimonial. First of all, I don't even want to hear the testimonials, but if it's going to be on record, I'll go ahead and listen to them. And this whole thing sounds bizarre. And, that's all I can say about it right now, is that it sounds bizarre. All right. And so we got to wind it down. We've actually gone over the time limit. But, since we're here, let's go ahead and get off on a little bit of a different note. It is kind of bizarre, just for a couple of minutes. Let's take a quick treat for all the people who stuck around till the end, all right? And if you have the visual, if you're checking it out, I want to tell you that I've been becoming a little bit more acquainted with Instagram, and I kind of know how it works now. There's a whole bunch of people. I hope I'm not doxing them right now. There's a whole bunch of people that I see on Instagram, right? It's a lot of bizarre ones. There's a story behind every one, okay? But just to see something bizarre, I want to go back to Mini Queen Kiki, which is someone we talked about last broadcast, all right? And I want to talk about that person so much right now necessarily. Hold on, I think I got to click their face. Click their face. Okay, see, you got Mini Queen Kiki, all right? And that's a 9-year-old drag queen, very confused, but it's being encouraged. It's already a ghoul and a goblin. Everything, every day's Halloween, and just a ghoul and a goblin. And I'd hate to say prostitute, but sometimes it looks that way. All right, so we've already gotten to the bottom of that, right? But the thing is, here's what I want to share. This is how easy it is, and we don't have time to go into it the way we're gonna go into it next time on Friday. Catch me on Friday. But here's an easy way. If you want to find unlimited perversion to the point of illegal activity, you will see it, all right? Do what you will with it, flag it or whatever. I don't think Instagram really cares that much, okay? So here's how you find unlimited perversion on Instagram. Here's how I found it, and I'm not even that good at operating it. You go to the really bizarre picture, right? Here's a ghoul and a goblin. That's a 9-year-old boy. You go to the comments. There's only two. There's like 218 likes and stuff, but there's only 2 comments. All right, and you're gonna find some interesting things in the comments. You're gonna find other people, and that's how I say, you can get unlimited. So if you catch one person and they're a fan of it, well, then just go to their Instagram, and you're gonna find some unlimited, all right, weird, wild stuff. Here's this guy. This person is brave and stunning and beautiful as well, man. Like, it just doesn't ever end. You know what I'm saying? It's unlimited. This is unlimited. On Instagram, this is unlimited. In fact, this is like the tip of the iceberg. Like, you see stuff that's just plain illegal on Instagram. I don't know if Instagram is doing anything about it. They like to ban Alex Jones. They like to ban you and me for saying certain things. Instagram actually banned one of my friends from work the other day, even though he's not political at all. And he doesn't even know why he got banned. He's actually not sure. And they banned him for life. But this kind of stuff, man, that's all over Instagram. This is what Instagram is about, right? You might like this. Maybe you're a fan of this, right? Some people don't really like it, all right? But for example, you go down to this and see if there's comments here. There's Princess Snokia. Let's see. You go to any of the various ones, and I forget which one. We might actually have to catch up to this later. Right now we got, a series of mental depravity, right? But let's see about the comments. You got this person, and this person might be, I don't know what the heck. Sometimes I try to tell you their story. I don't want to know their story, but I want to see this person. This is kind of probably a pervert. I don't know. Some hot looking lady covered in tattoos or whatever. It's going to be dangerous if that is a real person. But actually, here, we'll get to it next time. I came across this one Indian man, and it was the most bizarre. I don't really have time to find him right now. All right, but I found him in one of the comments of this. If you want to go through, this is our man Mercedes Ortiz, and find some of his fans. We're going to talk about it on the next broadcast. Just some bizarre stuff. In fact, we're going to go a little bit deeper into this stuff if you can handle it, or just know that I warned you and avoid the next broadcast, because we're going to go deep down into Instagram, all right? And we're going to try not to see actual blatant criminality, all right? Because I don't want to be a part of that. Anyways, it is February the 5th. 2020, and rabies don't work like that, you guys, all right? I'll holler at y'all, and I'll catch y'all next time. And I appreciate the heck out of all y'all, all right? And we're going to be doing, like, a better job next time, all right? Probably, and eventually we're going to get all sort of technology, all right? And I appreciate y'all. I'll holler at y'all a little bit later.